to just take you through an impromptu briefing, and then you can engage with them, ask questions on the readiness and all of that. The chair will lead the briefing. Thanks, Chair.
No, thank you very much, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I must just indicate that yesterday we received sad news that the father to our treasurer, Comrade Sello Lehare, has passed on. That is why he is not here with us today. And through the secretary, we have extended our condolences to the family. Now, you will recall that the conference had to adjourn. And normally we say we are on a tea break, a prolonged tea break. So conference will be proceeding, as we said, in the next week. Now, what the secretary is going to do is just to brief the media and the public as to what is the plan for the second session of the conference, how far are we with preparations, and then immediately after that we shall then take questions. Like Pule was saying, this is an impromptu briefing and so on, just to talk about that conference. I know that media people, more often than not, you get tempted to raise issues that are not related to a matter before us, but you can't do anything about it. It's your job to do so. So I'm going to hand over to the Provincial Secretary, Comrade Louis Di Remelo, to just give an indication on the dates of conference, how far are we in terms of preparations and so on, and what is the expectation. Comrade Louis.
Well, okay. No, thank you, Chair, and good morning. Colleagues who are here. Please let's note that the conference will start on the 27th to the 28th of August. Our venue will still remain in Rustenburg Civic Center. The registration point will be Olympia Stadium. We must also know that conference have already adopted credentials. So the same delegates who we are continuing with in continuation of the conference are the same delegates. The only thing that changes is delegates are expected to bring in their old text and get new text with new security features. But we are not changing any delegates for that matter. Delegates remain the same delegates that were conducted, because of this is just but a continuation of the adjournment of that conference, as the chair has stated. So we are on course with logistics. We are okay. Delegates have been informed. Letters have gone to all our delegates, have been informed in time. So we are ready. We are almost 99.5% ready with logistics, accommodations of delegates, and so forth. Where we had some few problems in terms of, especially you from your side as journalists, in terms of accreditations of your vehicles, carrying heavy equipment and what. We are going to improve on that so that you should not suffer and so forth. So basically that is it in regard to conference preparation. We are not starting from scratch. Not even disputes will be allowed this time, because we are done with disputes. There are no disputes that are going to be entertained. There are no new delegates that are not going to be entertained. We remain with the same delegates that were there, because we're just going to continue and conclude. Thank you, Chair. Okay. We are expected to start at 7:30 in the morning at the registration point, Olympia Stadium. Conference is expected to sit at 11 o'clock. By that time, because it's just collections of tech, by that time we'll be starting conference at 11 o'clock and then we will be proceeding with our conference. Thank you. Okay. Yes, indeed. Thanks, Leadership. Yes, conference, as you are all aware, has concluded the first part of it of electing the top 5, being officials, being the chair, the deputy chair, the secretary, the deputy secretary, and the treasurer. Therefore, conference now will be dealing with the additional members towards forming a complete provincial executive committee that is going to be elected on these things. And we're also going to do commissions, and then we'll also have finalized on the declarations of conference, and then we'll be able to complete the intention and the mission of conference, and therefore prepare ourselves towards the 55th National Conference that is going to take place.
We can now take questions if there's any.
No, it's fine, it's okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Patrick. Now that you say the continuation of your all products, what conference are there, were supposed to let them. How is it going to be conducted? Remember, there was an issue of whether national network should also go through the process where you get one. Number two, there are also reports about uplift ANC members that so that petition the ANC and also CC about some of the that they are saying we have compromised
How far are you in terms of have you received anything? And if you receive, say, suppose today or in the coming days, how are you going to respond to that? The other thing is, as the top 5 of the Northwest, you know there are also issues with regard to the ANC Youth League in the province. There are 2 regions, that is Dr. KK and Dr. Alistair, that are questioning the legitimacy of the ANC in the province. What this was about, which one do you recognize as the top 5? And then the issue of legislation passed on it. I think I should not pose the question. Thank you. Yes.
I'm Zinke Kanyane from Advocacy News. 2 questions on my side. The issue of credentials, saying that you recognize the credentials that were adopted in the conference, and so you won't go back there. But like my colleague said, there seems to be people that are aggrieved about the outcome of the process and of the conference, and they question the very same credentials that you are emphasizing to continue with. Can you comment on that? And also the issue of the tags. We saw that security breach that happened, tags being copied and so forth, and we know that there's a criminal case that has been launched by the ANC regarding that security breach. Now you're saying that delegates should come with their tags and they'll be given new tags with new security features. What features are you going to now include that will try and eliminate what happened in the press conference?
So you want the ANC to expose its security features?
I
Just
mean,
checking.
give clarity on how you want to prevent it.
So you want
Even
to-
if you don't give me the specific
Oh,
features,
okay.
but give me something that will explain how you want to press that.
Maybe I show this.
Oh, no, that's
Yeah.
sufficient. I thought you wanted us to expose security features.
Thank you. My name is Obakim Maje from Sunday World Newspaper. This question goes to Dr. Numano. We understand that ANC in 2017 has adopted a step-aside rule. So you're still having a pending case that is a capable homicide against you. Will you step aside if it might happen that the Integrity Commission say you need to step aside? And then on the other one, as the top 5 in the Northwest, have you decided already who to elect at the national or to support at the national conference in December? Because we understand that the former provincial chairperson, Dr. Suprama, is highly in the position of Secretary General. Well, the Northwest support Dr. on that, or what will happen? Thank you.
Okay, she has one question. I will give you the question of step aside.
Yes. As the top 5, do you foresee the current premier following suit of Sihle Zikalala after your election, him stepping down or resigning before you put somebody else in place, if you do have intentions of that? And if you are, then if he does, then are you ready as the top 5 to then put somebody capable in that position?
Okay, no, that's fine. Just to start with the first one. Comrade Nono is not criminally charged. Let's start there. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to clarify that the chairperson of the province is not criminally charged. He's a newly elected chairperson of the province. And our expectation. Okay. So Comrade Nono is the newly elected chairperson of the province. Our expectation is that he will work with the collective to fulfill the mandate given to them by the 9th Provincial Conference of the ANC here in the Northwest. Instances applicable to stepping aside have got to do to persons indicted or comrades indicted to appear in a court of law. We don't have such. And I think the appeal we must make to journalists is that avoid being co-opted to what doesn't exist. I think you comrades know where the province of the Northwest comes from. The contribution of the media should also be to assist us to unite comrades in this province, so that much needed services are provided to the people of the Northwest province. That's what the people of Bukoni-Bupirima need now. Comrade Diremelo has already outlined that conference is in session, what the chair terms a prolonged break. So allow them to conclude the work after that prolonged break. They will come back as a collective and be able to outline a more broader program on the work that they're expected to do. Asking officials now, when they are not a complete collective, on whether they will recall or allow the premier to stay is rather unfair to them, because they are going to rely on the mandate given to them by the conference, which is still in session. So I felt I must just clarify those ones, Chair. Otherwise, the rest, you comrades are capable of dealing with.
Criminal charge. He was charged, he appeared in court, but this case was struck off the roll temporarily. So, if
Yes, I get when the case is dragged off the roll, it will not happen. Unless you understand.
Provisionally so. But the APA says the case is still on the roll. So I don't understand when you say it's not criminal.
No. In terms of the records of the ANC, we don't recognize him as a charged person. Okay. And is that sufficient for the Sunday World? Does it help? Does that help the Sunday World?
That's why.
Does that clarity? Okay, that's fine. No, wanted to just make sure that we clarified to sufficient.
Thank you.
Okay.
But just
two quick ones, and then I will give other officials to respond. You will recall that when we took this long break, we were dealing with additional members. And there were issues that were raised by delegates. Amongst others was the consolidation of the names of people who were nominated by branches. And at that point in time, that consolidation was not complete. We had to give an independent body, which is your election, an opportunity to go and do that consolidation. But they could not complete it in time because it was taking quite a long time. But we are told that that exercise is complete. What is now going to happen is that election at conference will then indicate to delegates as to who qualified from branches, and those names will automatically appear on what they will be presenting. And then delegates will then be given an opportunity to nominate from the floor if they so wish. They will then nominate from the floor and so on. If they nominate more than 30 individuals into the PEC and so on, then delegates will go and vote. If delegates decide that they are going to nominate up to the number 30, they can't proceed any further. It will then mean that 30 get in unopposed and so on. That's the process which is going to be followed when we start the conference again and so on. And we are happy, it seems election is ready and so on. There is no problem with that matter. Now, you will recall that 4 comrades have signed the petition that you are talking about. The Youth League is there, 3 other comrades and so on. The Youth League did hold a conference, or they did release a press statement indicating that unfortunately they are not part of that petition. But as officials, we have not received officially that petition and so on. But if there is a petition which I suppose, or I'm told that is directed to National, and National will deal with it at that level, and I think they are the best people to answer that question. But what we can tell you is that as it relates to the Youth League has distanced itself from the petition. They are no longer part of the petition and so on. We don't know as it relates to other comrades. We'll come to that. And Comrade Pule is correct. Security features are security features. Now, you don't discuss security features on a public platform and so on. Now, that includes tags that were issued before. There were security features. Those who decided to clone tags and so on and so forth, unfortunately, they were not going to succeed come voting, because all those tags were going to be checked, and it was, of course, going to be discovered that they don't qualify and so on. So even these ones, security features will be there, and we are satisfied that the security features that we put in the tags, they are up to scratch, they are up to standard, and so on. So people can try their tricks and so on, but when they enter that voting station, if you come with a cloned tag and so on, you will not succeed, you will not be able to get inside and so on, and then you will be caught. And the ANC will deal with you in terms of the constitution of the African National Congress. So, there is no crisis. We are okay on that level. Conference will be concluded on the 27th of October. And of August. And after that conference, you will then have a provincial executive committee of the ANC. That is the structure which will then begin to take decisions. As officials seated here, what we are now doing, we are working together with the steering committee to prepare for conference. All other things will be discussed by the Provincial Executive Committee. The Provincial Executive Committee will take decisions. And Comrade Pule is correct, it will be unfair for anybody to raise questions about decisions of the organization to an incomplete body. It will not be correct. allow us, I think they will organize another press conference, maybe on Sunday after conference or on Monday after conference, where we'll then be able to talk to you with confidence as a complete structure now as to what is it that we are going to do and so on and so forth. Even the press conferences that we held before this one, we did indicate to yourselves that as we pronounce other things and so on, those things are not complete up until the Provincial Executive Committee rectify and takes decision on those issues. So just give us space. It's not a long time. Today is Friday. You are just left with 7 days. After 7 days and so on, you will have the opportunity to get full answers from an elected structure of the ANC. That relates to questions of the premiership that we are raising and so on. That relates to issues of the national conference and so on. Let structures take decisions. We are not in some country where there is some dictatorship and so on. Collective decisions bind us, not individual decisions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chair. Just before we proceed, to also assist, because I see there's interest on petitions, maybe we need to clarify, members of the media, the Constitution, because we just the Chair correctly states.
Let me say, while attempting to respond on that, I was actually going to request a bite from you.
Yes. Yes.
And what is the NEC position with regard to the court case? Should you be served? Are you going to contest? That's number one. Maybe we should get the bite from you.
There are many court cases. Which one are you talking
about? The one that relates to the aggrieved ANC members, that petition to you. Because what they said is that should they not get joy? And indications are when you came here, they are proceeding, you might be served today or over this weekend.
Okay.
Will you then, as the NEC, challenge that? Second, my last question to you as a bite. Last week, Member Mukwanyan, when she addressed that, they said they have opened a criminal case up, especially for those people that cloned and those that grabbed those texts. She even mentioned that those people are known. I just wanted to check how far is the case in terms of that?
Well, let me first deal with the first part. The Constitution of the African National Congress, which is effectively the supreme law of the organization, does not make provision for the petitioning of conference. We don't have that. So it means that if the National Executive Committee applies itself to something like that, it will have to first locate where in the rules of the Constitution is something like that provided for. The Constitution of the ANC, as amended, adopted by the 54th National Conference, has got no section that makes provision for the petitioning of conference. So if we must understand that, because we are a rule-based organization. We operate in terms of the rules of procedure. We process issues and all of that. But the other issue is that some of the cadres that would have been part of the petitions have contested. So the issue we need to clarify ourselves on is that if they had made it in the 9th Provincial Conference, would they have been part of those in the petition? Where we are, then the reason why we have been released ourselves as the DIP machinery of the ANC at national level to come and give this support to the officials is because we recognized the election of the officials. That's why we're here. I think just my presence alone should have been sufficient to qualify the fact that the head office of the ANC, which presided over the conference, recognizes the outcomes of the first part. So these cadres are elected as officials. They are the ones that are going to run the next installment. We did the same with Gauteng, by the way. And by the way, it's not for the first time that we are having to sit in what the chairperson calls a prolonged break. During my tenure as Treasurer General of the ANC Youth League, we elected in April only as officials of the Youth League. And we went on to conclude the election of the full complement, not even in 7 days like you are saying. We went on in June, months afterwards. We had to preside over provincial general councils that prepared for the 23rd National Conference, the conclusion of the 23rd National Conference of the Youth League. So the ANC has dealt with issues like this in the past, so it's not for the first time. Now, will the ANC challenge this? Of course. We've got the duty to protect our internal processes. But we also have got the duty to teach and educate our cadres to accept outcomes of conferences. You see, ANC is a democratic organization. Now, if you agree to become part of a voluntary enterprise called the African National Congress, it then follows that you ought to also submit yourself to the democratic processes of that voluntary enterprise. We would have been here presiding over this press briefing, even if it was different outcomes. We didn't come here because it is Comrade Nono who's the chair, because the National Executive Committee had no interest on who ought to emerge here. We left that to structures of the Northwest. They've made a determination, participated in a democratic process, and produced outcomes. So anyone who goes to court must know that the ANC will surely, because when they go to court, they are not taking Comrade Nono as the chair and this collective. They are taking the ANC at national level. Because we are a unitary structure, we are the ones that will be able to stand in court and defend our own processes. The appeal we must make to all cadres of the province is that they must embrace the outcomes of conference, work towards uniting our people. You are a journalist, Ndate Patrick Dindwa. You know the amount of hardships that people of this province are going through. So the ANC, as a leading force, as a governing party in this province, has got to unite, to renew itself, do the things that the people are expecting on the ground, which is delivering basic services to our people. Once the leadership is elected, it does not serve any particular faction or perspective. It serves the entirety of the membership, which is what Comrade Nono has emphasized, that they will be able to rise and pronounce on decisions of the collective, not on what their views are as provincial officials. I'm sure we dealt with, was there another question?
The criminal case, how far is that the ANC?
Well, I can place it on record that there's already been law enforcement officers that have met with some of our comrades at Lituli House to give witness statements. So the ANC is already cooperating with that process. So those that are found wanting in this thing, we're going to have to set an example. Because we're not going to allow people to transport foreign tendencies in the African National Congress. Where there are acts of criminality, we expect law enforcement agencies to act accordingly. Mete out judgment sufficient enough to teach people that the ANC is not a playground.
My last question
Yes.
goes to the officials. We have just received an invite.
Yes.
An invite from. We have received an invite from the Guatemala municipality. There's a special council meeting on Monday where, among issues that are going to be discussed, there is motion of no confidence against the ANC mayor. And we did the story last time, but the meeting did not continue because there were disruptions. So, but what we have also gathered is that your employees, the ANC members, are possibly going to connive with the opposition because the motion was sponsored by the Freedom Front Plus to do their own thing. Your reaction to that?
Now, there is no deployee of the ANC who is allowed to connive with the opposition against another deployee of the African National Congress. We have spoken about this when we gave our acceptance speech in Rustenburg, that there must be stability in all our municipalities in the province, including the legislature, and that all members of the ANC who are deployed there, they must work as a collective. Now, anybody who decides to work outside the constitution of the ANC, policies of the African National Congress and so on, the ANC will have to deal with that, guided by the constitution and so on. Now, if there are members of the ANC in Lekwatemane who are preparing to work with the opposition to remove a mayor of the ANC, those comrades must then know that they will be doing something which is tantamount to a serious crime as it relates to the constitution of the ANC. They will be violating the code of conduct because they should have read what the code of conduct says as it relates to those deployees. Of course, through the secretary, we will interact with those comrades and remind them that those seats are seats of the African National Congress. The general public, residents of Lekwatemane, voted for the ANC, and the ANC requested them to go and occupy those seats on behalf of the ANC. So those seats do not belong to them. They belong to the ANC. So they must do what the ANC requires of them. Thank you very much. Yeah, the secretary will do the same in Setswana. Jaanong ga gona maloko ape a mokgatlho wa African National Congress ba ile go ba dumeletse go ka molaotheo wa ANC, particularly se se ko morago se le se se bitswang go tla ke code of conduct, go ba ka yo ko pusong ba ya go vota le di opposition against ANC ga ya dumelwa. Ya go tla gopola gore ga batho ba ya go vota ka nako ya ditlhopho ba votela mokgatlho wa ANC, ga ba votele maina, ga ba votele Nono Maloi, ga ba votele Louis Diremelo jalo jalo, ba votela ANC. Ga ANC e fetsa go wina ditlhopho e allocate-wa ditulo go tswa ANC, jaanong lona le na le ditulo di le 10 kapo di le 20. Rona be re ya ko malokong a ANC re wena re Nono Maloi ra go kopa re le mokgatlho wa ANC gore le ANC re na le situlo fale tsa mo go dula mo situlong se le sa ANC o emele ANC o represente ANC. Jaanong maloko a ANC tshwantse ba itse go ditulo tseo ga se tsa bone, ke tsa African National Congress. Jaanong go tshwantse ba dire se African National Congress e ba kopang gore ba se dire. Ga re interfere le their day-to-day work ko di masipaleng and so on, but on issues like this, tsa di deployment and redeployments, ke di issue tsa African National Congress. Jaanong go tla nna maswe thata ga re ka utlwa gotwe maloko a ANC a ile ko sitting ya council ba ba vota le ANC go ntsha moremuwa wa ANC. Ga ba ka dira jalo re tlo go boela mo molaotheong wa ANC be re dirisa se molaotheo o reng re se dire ga maloko a ANC a dirile jalo. That will be the highest form of ill discipline. Ke a leboga.
Okay. Are you covered? You look like you are happy. You got a headline.
Someone want to step aside. Ke tse ke nana ke ntho tsa the independent fela le rwa le mo teng dai push that thing.
No, we've covered it. That's why the thing is
So what are repeat?
Yeah, so probably just outline the process, including we put systems in place to also provide for yourselves in the media.
Okay. No, ke a leboga. Conference ya rona ya go tswelela ka di 27 to the 28 tsa yona kgwedi e re leng mo go yona. Ra go tswelela kwa Civic Center ke ko conference go e tshwarang ko teng from ura ya bo lesome le bongwe ke yona setswana se sa rona sa ko now registera ko Olympia Stadium ke ko re ikwadisang kwa teng respecta all the delegates tsa rona tse 687 tse di adoptileng di credentials that tse di expectiwang ko conferenceng ka mokgwa re dumelaneng ka teng dilega tsa rona di include dilega tsa rona di tlo go collecta di-tag ko Olympia from ura 7:30 in the morning, and then from there ba proceedela ko conferencing bojanala ke bona ba ba simollang ba ntlha ba ba collectang di-tag go latele didika tse dingwe fela yalo including ngaka go latele Dr. RSM and Dr. KK. Then from there proceedela ko conferencing ba tshwanetse go tla ka di-tag tsa bona tsa kgale, then re ba fa di-tag tse dintšha ga re change ope wa di-delegate ebile ga re bue sepe sa ditletlebo tsa gore di-dispute in regard to kgotsa ono gore branch ne dirang di hedile go ne go na le di-appeal di tsweletse di hedile now conference e tswela pele jaaka e ne e simolotse ka nako. Now national office led by Comrade Nomvula ke bona ba batleng ba re backup ko registration pointing. Comrade Pule will be leading, Mape will be leading in terms of communication ko conferencing ke bona batleng ba re backup. Conference is being led by the Social Services Steering Committee, which is still being led by Comrade Obed Bapela, being an NEC deployee mo Bokoni Bophirima. So that session ke ona e tswelelang pele. We ka go itukisa ga rona ka puo ya se re pitsa di logistics, we are 99.5%, we are ready. Re setse re issuile makwalo mongwe le mongwe wa expectwang ko conference wa itse go tshwantsa le ko conference mongwe le mongwe wa itse ka nako eng ga go solofele go ka nna le mongwe o ka tlang ene nako ena yalo e latelang e re tswelela security sa rona will be more strengthened, tougher go phala ka nako e fetileng mo go neng go nna le botsotsinyana bo bo diragetseng bola ba go tsena ka mogara registration pointing batho ba ira botsotsi bo reportileng ko mapolising ga gona go diragala yalo including ko conferencing. So rona re siame re bereka le re na le electoral commission ka mo chairman le Comrade Pule ba tlhaloseng ka teng. Now it's an independent body ke yone tebe le yone is ready. Election appointed Leona is ready, they've been informed. Ki electoral commission ya rona. Therefore, we are ready for conference come beke eta kwa Civic Center. If go na le sengwe se ke se messaging di colleagues tsa ka di teng go ntlatsa. The first part ya rona ke gore conference starts on the 27th to the 28th of August. Registration point, Olympia Stadium. Collections of tags, Olympia Stadium. New tags with new features. Same delegates that went to the conference. No new delegates, no new registration. Just the same delegates. No dispute were going to be entertained. And conference venue is Civic Center, Rustenburg. Conference has been booked. We are okay in terms of logistics. We are ready for this conference to sit without any challenges. We don't foresee any challenges for this conference to sit.